Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're looking at the Zack Snyder Justice League. This Snyder cut has been released and I can't fucking believe it. I thought it was just like an Alex Jones conspiracy that DC fanatics were holding on to, something that didn't exist, like the fucking fountain of youth for DC. And like a fool, I believe that even if there was some Zack Snyder unicorn that somehow fixed all of the major problems from Justice League 2017, I thought it would never be released. I thought they would never see the light of day. And I just, again, thought it was such a far-fetched idea that there'd even be a way of salvaging the mess that was the Justice League movie. It's not the worst movie DC ever made, but it really, truly was pretty fucking bad. I wasn't a huge fan of it when it came out, and I really didn't have high hopes for the Snyder cut, even when they did reveal it existed. And I'm just gonna have to eat a full ass of shit on this one, because I was very wrong. Not only does it exist, and not only were the rumors true about it actually fixing a lot of the things in the Justice League movie, it is actually good, too. I was wrong 3 times on this whole thing. The Zack Snyder Justice League is an incredible improvement over the original theatrical release. It's not even comparable. It is laughable how much worse the theatrical version is compared to Snyder's version. It's crazy. It was already a bad movie, but when you compare it to this, it's like comparing a Pee-wee middle school football team to the fucking Patriots. It's so silly that what we got in theaters was nothing like what Snyder had originally put onto paper, because it's night and day. I couldn't even recognize half the scenes in this movie from the original because they fit so differently here and there were so many changes. I initially thought it'd be so trivial, like mundane, 5 scenes throughout the entire movie maybe that they added to make it better. But this is a whole brand new movie, it feels like. The experience is completely different. It adds so much more depth to the characters that was absolutely absent in the one that released in theaters. Each character actually has a story this time and makes you care about them. Cyborg is a good character. Flash, good character. Steppenwolf actually has character to him now instead of just being some goofy villain that looks silly. He looks badass, looks like something right out of fucking Doom, and he actually has a little depth to him. It really did solve the problems Justice League had and made it better in every possible area. It is objectively an improvement in every category except one: runtime. And this isn't a problem I necessarily have, but this is a 4-hour movie. So you're getting double the Justice League, so you would hope they'd fill it with things that matter, and they did. There's not a whole lot of times throughout watching the movie where I was getting bored or felt like things were dragging. After the first 2 hours, I didn't even realize 2 hours had gone by. I was just really invested in it, and shit was just flying. They did a really good job of keeping the audience interested throughout this extremely long runtime, which is impressive. I've seen some people say that this movie would be better if it was just 2 movies, kind of like Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame. That shit would not work for this movie. If they divided that in half, you would be left with the wettest fart of a first half, because the first half is spent entirely setting up the characters and setting up the stakes. There would be nothing, there'd be no payoff, there'd be really nothing that you'd look back and be like, yep, that was fucking great. You would look back and be like, man, I just watched setup for a movie that isn't out yet. You'd feel like your time was wasted, and you'd probably wouldn't want to watch the second part. It works as a 4-hour movie because it spends so much time building these characters up. It's like you're watching 4 or 5 episodes of a TV show you really like back to back to back. It's well done, and I'm shocked to say that. I don't think it's the best DC movie that's been made, but compared to the one that came out in theaters, it's completely different in all the right ways. But there are still problems with the movie. For the biggest complaint I have, it's the CGI. I don't know what it is with DC. I don't know if they're just really trying to nickel and dime CGI artists and the departments that make their CGI, just trying to get like the best bang for a small buck. But there are times where the CGI is again laughable, a problem other DC movies, including the theatrical release of Justice League. Every time the Flash would move in the original Justice League, he'd turn into an absolute fucking wet noodle. It was goofy and weird. There was a lot of bad CGI in that movie, and that is present here. So I guess it didn't fix everything, but most of it. When Wonder Woman is first introduced in the Snyder Cut, She comes out and it's like she's completely weightless. She just like starts teleporting around and punching people that feel like helium balloons being slapped by a child in a grocery store. They just launch instantly. They just like fucking ricochet all over the place like they're made out of rubber. It's really goofy. And when she moves, it looks awful. It looks jarring. Like she's blocking bullets and she's doing it really fast. And it looks like, I don't even know how to describe it, a video game glitch. It's hard to even put into words. It just looks wrong. It looks amateurish. You immediately get taken out. You're like, fuck, this is goofy. So there are definitely bad CGI moments in here, which I guess is to be expected from DC at this point, which is a shame. But what I do like that they added is blood. Snyder said, you know what, I want this shit to be gory. And I can respect that. It's not like it needed to be. It doesn't really gain anything from being a bit edgy with its blood. But I just appreciate that it's there just for the sake of being there. The characters don't get edgier. They're not dropping like fuck and shit titties or anything with like their dialogue. They're not going like hard in the edginess. But the blood and gore is for some reason, which is fine. I thought that was just kind of a creative, cute choice. Not a complaint. Doesn't really do anything to make the movie better either, but it is a change where there's a point where a guy gets chopped in half underwater, which definitely wouldn't have been there in the theatrical release. So the biggest problem, though, is definitely the CGI. It gets rough, and rough is an understatement. It gets real fucking bad. Like, it points, it looks like a goddamn machinima from 2010 using Injustice cutscenes, which I also said about the theatrical Justice League movie, not Snyder Cut. So that's the biggest problem that I had with the movie. Another problem I have is it oftentimes feels a bit disjointed. Like, Snyder obviously had a very grand vision for the film, but at points it feels like he just took the theatrical release of Justice League and started breaking things up and putting better things in. But as a result, it just becomes a lot of different pieces that aren't always flowing. So you'll have a very disjointed set of things going on. There'll be a lot of moving parts, and they're not really connecting well, at least not in the beginning. For example, you'll have a Cyborg flashback where he's playing football and then something bad happens. Then you go right to the Flash who's going over his motivation because something bad happened. Then it's back to Cyborg, back to Flash, stay on Flash, back to Cyborg, now to Batman, back to Cyborg, now to Flash. Like, it really does feel pretty chopped up. And oftentimes, well, not oftentimes, but in the beginning, it doesn't make for a cohesive exposition. It just feels kind of all over the place at points, in my opinion. But that doesn't mean it's bad, because it's filled with much better elements that are much better for the overall film. Because now you care about the characters and you know more about them. They're not as two-dimensional, which I think is very important to a movie like Justice League, who is built upon its heroes. You have to fucking care about them, and they have to be cool. They're much cooler here, much more well-rounded. The movie is enjoyable. It is a significant improvement. Oh, also, I did have one more minor complaint that I wanted to point out. When they first introduced Darkseid and show one of his conquests, he gets his ass beaten really fucking hard. He gets slapped around and looks like an absolute pussy. They hype him up as like this galactic, well, fucking multi-universe level threat that every universe is afraid of. And then the first time you see Darkseid in action, he doesn't do anything. He slams a staff into the ground, makes a big explosion, and then gets absolutely blasted. Absolutely manhandled and rolled. So it wasn't exactly like the coolest way of introducing and setting up the big bad by just having him be a punching bag. That was just a minor complaint. It's not a big deal, but I thought I might as well point that out. So I'm shocked to say all of this. I thought this was just going to be a big letdown for DC fans, and I thought I was going to just get the big laugh saying, I told you so, or, but I didn't. It's good, and I enjoyed it. Plugging Justice League's Snyder Cut into the Moist Meter, I've got to give it an 85. It's really impressive what he was able to do and what the team was able to do. They weren't satisfied with the theatrical release of Justice League, and they said, we want to fix it because we know we have something better, and they did it. It really does feel like a passion project and a labor of love, and I really respect that. They weren't satisfied with the mediocrity, and they made it better. And they made it significantly better, and I think there's nothing but to commend them for that. But yeah, anyway, that's about it. With spring break right around the corner, it's important that you take your grooming seriously, which is why I want to talk about Manscaped. Manscaped will ensure the spring break party in your pants never stops and that the party is looking good and all the guests that attend are having a great time. Manscaped has all the tools you need to look and feel your best. There's of course the classic Perfect Package Kit 3.0, which comes with the essential Lawnmower 3.0, waterproof cordless body trimmer, a ton of other liquid formulations to round out the grooming routine, and that Lawnmower 3.0 is the Excalibur for grooming. It is just the perfect tool. It also comes in with that beautiful advanced skin-safe technology so you're not hurting yourself when you're taking care of business down there. I've been using it for over a year now and I haven't had a single injury, which is fantastic. So I can just go wild without any fear. It feels great to take control, and there's more than just the Lawnmower 3.0 and the Perfect Package Kit. There's just so many items on Manscaped that will help you take your grooming to the next level and get ready for the spring break party. So if you're interested in trying Manscaped products for yourself, you can go to manscaped.com/moist to get 20% off and free shipping. That's manscaped.com/moist for 20% off and free shipping. That's it. So yeah.